Are you looking for ways to keep your midlife brain sharp and active? Well, in this video, I'm going to explore that crazy question: is classical music better than Sudoku for brain health? As we age, the talk is all about brain health. We hear it all. So, what makes the biggest impact on improving your memory and concentration, as well as reducing your stress and anxiety? Let's discover which one comes out on top, right? And how you can incorporate them into your daily routine to keep your mind firing on all cylinders. Whether you're a music lover or a puzzle enthusiast, this episode is for you. Welcome to the Extraordinary Women Show, where we dive deeply into the details of how we can design and live a fabulous next chapter. I'm Sharri Harmel, your host, and I want to welcome each and every one of you. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do so and join in the conversation. Let's make our next chapter one of our best chapters. Now, before we compare Sudoku and classical music, we all know that brain health is super important in midlife. Every single one of us worries that we're going to potentially forget the people that we love and the life that we've had. But the good news is that neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections, doesn't stop progressing at a certain age. We don't have to become cognitively impaired. In fact, midlife is a prime time to strengthen our cognitive function. The key is that we have to continually challenge our brains in different ways. Sometimes, though, it happens to all of us. We walk into a room and we wonder, what were we going to do in that room? Or we start checking the pockets of our coats or dumping out our purses as we look for the missing keys, right? So as we age, we may notice minor lapses in memory or maybe a slower recall. But the good news is that we can actively improve our cognitive abilities through specific activities. So I asked the question, okay, I hear you. Wait, what's better for brain health? Sudoku or classical music? First, I thought of Sudoku because I used to be a Sudoku lover. I played it all the time because I like numbers. And Sudoku is basically a crossword puzzle for people who like numbers. And my interest in classical music and its impact on the brain actually occurred in a very recent conversation I had about ballet with a friend of mine, Dr. Naima Ruffin. Naima runs her face fitness company, and I've done a couple of videos on Naima's company. It's really fascinating. It's all about exercises for your face to hold up all of this that kind of falls down. Not kind of, it really does fall down as we age. But she was sharing the face fitness benefits of ballet and how so many of the women, she took up ballet when she was in her 50s, but she noticed that so many of the women who have been long-term ballet dancers had very taut necklines. Their jaw was still quite uh, firm and not the double chins that you're seeing in me and probably maybe in some of you. And Naima wondered, why is that? And a lot of it had to do with the exercises that one does in ballet. Okay, I digress. But how does classical music impact this? It came into the conversation because Dr. Naima mentioned that so many of the women who are in her ballet circle, and they're all older. One woman is like, I don't know, 85 years old, and she's still dancing. It's unbelievable. But Naima shared that their emotional health, not only their physical health, but their emotional health seemed so good. And part of it is she did her research. She's a physician, an MD, and she did her research and recognized that it was classical music. So that's why I'm looking at Sudoku versus classical music. So let's talk Sudoku first. Sudoku, for those of you who don't know, it's a number puzzle that requires some problem solving, pattern recognition, and logical thinking. Research suggests that playing Sudoku and similar brain games can enhance working memory. We love that because it forces you to hold numbers in your head while you plan out what your next move is going to be. It also improves cognitive flexibility. So when you play Sudoku, you tend to shift strategies when one pathway, one number sequence doesn't work. You shift it up, which is cognitive flexibility. It also improves concentration and focus. Sudoku demands your attention. Therefore, it is a great way to practice mindfulness because you have to get a little quiet when you're playing Sudoku while engaging your brain. Studies, though, have shown that the benefits of Sudoku tend to be specific to the game itself, meaning that while it improves certain cognitive functions, it doesn't necessarily translate to a broader problem solving, if we want to call that, in everyday life. It's still a great way to keep your brain active and engaged, but it doesn't have that far-reaching positive effects in other, like I said, other aspects of your life. So let's switch gears a little bit now and talk about classical music. Unlike Sudoku, which primarily activates the logical and problem-solving skills, listening to classical music stimulates multiple areas of your brain simultaneously. I'm telling you that because of PET scans and functional MRIs, they can now see which areas of your brain are engaged when you're doing certain activities. And they have actually studied this with classical music. Listening to classical music engages both hemispheres and lights up your brain all over the place. But playing classical music, which is incredibly interesting, actually just lights up your entire brain. It's very cool. And the last time I went to the Boston Symphony, that was all I could think of when I was watching these unbelievable musicians play. And I like, what's going on in their brains while they're playing this incredible music? The good news is that it doesn't matter what your skill level is. You don't have to be a Boston Symphony cello player to get the benefits. You can take up any instrument because what happens is that there's multiple things going on. But let's go back to just listening to classical music. What happens to your brain when you listen to classical music? First of all, memory enhancement. Studies suggest that listening to classical music can improve memory retention and recall. I love this. That Mozart effect. I think when my youngest child, my daughter was young, they were talking all about the Mozart effect. And there's been some controversy about it, but the bottom line is that classical music may enhance spatial reasoning and cognitive performance, regardless of your age. The Mozart effect was actually talking about children, but it makes a huge difference even in us oldies. Another benefit of listening to classical music is emotional regulation. Music has a direct impact on our emotions. So what kind of music we listen to really impacts our emotional well-being. And this gets back to what Dr. Naima Ruffin was talking about, how the ballet dancers seem to have an emotional intelligence, if we want to call it that, emotional competency that far exceeded the average person on the street. And this makes sense. Music, if it's the right kind of music, can reduce stress and anxiety, which in turn, when you reduce stress and anxiety, your brain can actually function better. The other interesting point is that classical music actually creates a creativity boost. Unlike that focused logic of Sudoku, classical music activates the brain's creative centers, encouraging innovative thinking and problem solving in all different areas of your life, not just when you're doing a particular numbers puzzle. It impacts your ability to problem solve and think creatively. I think that's very cool. And that is why they also talk about it with children. Really interesting. Classical music also, and this is a big one, increases neural connectivity because music, when we listen to classical music, it engages both hemispheres of the brain. Sudoku, in contrast, my guess is it's primarily left brain because it's numbers, it's patterns. So there may be a little bit going on the right hemisphere, but it's primarily in the left hemisphere. Classical music, in contrast, engages both hemispheres of the brain and it strengthens the neural connections, which is what helping your brain to age healthy is all about. It increases your mental agility, it increases your processing speed. So, classical music can make a huge difference. But which one is better? Well, the answer isn't black and white. If you're looking for that structured cognitive training, Sudoku is a great option. It's wonderful, as are many of the kind of systematic puzzles, whether it is language, when you're doing crossword puzzles, or I would imagine playing bridge has some of those same characteristics. On the flip side, if you want holistic, whole brain stimulation and more emotional well-being, classical music is a powerful tool. Now, if you want the best of both worlds, which I think we all do, consider combining them. Try playing Sudoku while listening to classical music and see how your brain responds. You can do your own little research studies, right? The key to long-term cognitive or brain health is variety, engaging in different kinds of mental activities, logic-based games, music, reading, creative writing, or even learning a new instrument ensures a well-rounded brain workout. So, here are some practical ways. Maybe you can incorporate them into your routine. Start your day with music. Play classical music while you're getting ready in the morning to set that calm, focused tone for the day. Maybe at midday, you take a 10 to 15 minute break in the afternoon for a quick Sudoku puzzle to give your brain that structured challenge, right? Then pair music with creativity. If you like to journal or paint or cook, let classical music be happening in the background to enhance your creativity and your mood. And then in the evening, why not listen to classical music to calm yourself down, to wind down, and to improve sleep because you're reducing your stress? So why not do both? The beauty, I should say, of midlife is that we get to dream really big dreams. We get to try on some of our ideas, and then we get to design a next chapter that we love and one that works best for us. And if you're unsure of your next steps in your next chapter, check out my book, Design Your Fabulous Next Chapter. In that book, I actually walk you through my 7-step process that I created to help you to design the next chapter that you want to live. If you're interested, at the very end of this video, I put a little visit to Boston Symphony Hall, which is just an incredible symphony venue with historical context as well as acoustical, as I talk about the uniqueness of Boston Symphony Hall. It's just a tiny little video, but I thought you would enjoy it because it's such a special place. Well, I'd love to hear from you. How do you keep your brain sharp? Do you prefer Sudoku, classical music, or a combination of both, or maybe something else entirely? Share your thoughts in the comment section. I promise I read every single one of your comments. I love it. And I think other people in our community do too. So do share. And last, I want to thank you for joining me today. If you enjoyed this episode, give me a thumbs up. It matters to YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe. Share this episode with a friend, anyone who's interested in creating a fabulous next chapter. So until next time, challenge your brain, stay curious, and embrace this incredible chapter of your life. Take care, everyone. A biento. Hello, everyone. I am at the Boston Symphony Hall. I'm here to see a particular program. I'm not going to be able to say it correctly, but it's Gabriela Ortiz who wrote a absolutely brand new, beautiful score. And I'm not so sure it's not up for the Oscars, Grammy, something like that. I am in Boston Symphony Hall, which I will show you in just a minute. Boston Symphony Hall is considered one of the most beautiful symphony halls, both visually as well as acoustically, in United States. It was rebuilt in the same spot in 1900, and I believe the architects were McKim, Mead and Company. The organ in the back is supposed to be one of the most fantastic organ in all of America. Very interesting. The side balconies, and you can kind of see it here, are very shallow, and the reason they did that was to make sure that they didn't trap any of the sound, as well as, I'll show you the ceilings, the coffered ceilings, which actually absorb sound so that it doesn't bounce around, which is pretty incredible. The statues around the sides are all both literary as well as musical characters. Only one of them is named. Don't you love that? I love the symphony. But let's find our seat, and I'll try to record a little bit for you because this is an incredible place. There's Beethoven. Okay, I'm just going to give you a little bit more information about the hall. It is considered one of the top concert halls in the world, and part of this is because it was the first auditorium designed in accordance with scientifically derived acoustical principles. Don't you love that? So I think that's just fascinating. They actually hired an MIT scientist to design the acoustics in the hall, and the walls of the around the stage actually curve inward, which actually pushes the sound out. So isn't this just beautiful? And just so you know, we have wood floors that creak. You can hear them when you walk on them. And in the summer, when the BSO is the Boston Pops, I should say, performs, they actually remove all the seats and put little round tables, which is amazing. I'm going to try to videotape part of the session today, but it's by Mexican composer Gabriela Ortiz, and she's just absolutely wonderful, and I cannot wait. I absolutely can't wait.